What's up guys, Hybrid Mongoose here and welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Go. And this video might be late a little bit, considering that the Adventure Week rock type event is going to end in like a day. But you know what, I figured this is valuable information for when it comes back around again. Also, I was asked the question in the previous video, so I was like, you know what, let's do a video on how to beat Aerodactyl solo. Now, the very best team that you're going to need, because Aerodactyl is rock type and flying type, it actually doesn't do well in the current meta of the game. I mean, it's weak versus a lot of stuff. So this is actually one of the fairly easier tier 3 raids to beat solo. So the very best team that you can actually use is going to consist of Raikou with Thunder Shock Wild Charge. That's the absolute best move it has for this. So each type that I'm discussing here will actually be mainly its main type. So for instance, you don't really want to use a Kyogre that has like Waterfall, Thunder Shock or something like that. You want to use, if it's a water type, just use both water. So you'll see what I mean in a second. So anyway, so Raikou is the very best attacker for Aerodactyl with Thunder Shock Wild Charge, followed up by Kyogre. Its best move versus Aerodactyl is going to be Waterfall Hydro Pump, and then Zapdos with Charge Beam and Thunderbolt, and then Jolteon with Thunder Shock and Thunderbolt, followed up by Gyarados, which has Waterfall Hydro Pump. Okay, now that's going to be the A-ranked team. That's going to be the very best that you get. And if you have only a couple, like say you have one good Raikou powered up to over 3,000, and then maybe a Kyogre powered up around the same, and then you have the rest of just like Gyaradoses and stuff, it'll still work. But a more realistic team that you're going to probably run into, probably have if you're a casual or lower level, is probably going to consist of mostly water types like Gyarados with Waterfall Hydro Pump. So this is going to be my B team. I'm going to call this the B team. This is going to be the more realistic team. So one legendary if you can, over 3,000 CP. Vaporeon, Water Gun Hydro Pump, powered over 3,000 CP. And then you have Tyranitar with Iron Tail Stone Edge. And then any legendary that you can that will be thrown in the mix on top of that. Now, like I said, this is one of the easier ones to beat, and in the footage I'm about to show you, I actually even messed up during the recording and still ended up winning, and I'll actually show that here. And alright guys, I'm going to show you the footage of me actually beating an Aerodactyl solo, and this actually is one of the worst ones to actually try to beat solo when it has this certain type of moveset. And this one was, I believe it had Steel Wing Hyper Beam. And Hyper Beam, if you don't dodge it, it really hurts from an Aerodactyl. So I ended up actually dodging like halfway through this video, which honestly I wouldn't recommend unless you're halfway decent at it. I kind of knew I could kind of get away with it, so I just did it. My first mistake in this game is always make your team beforehand, especially if you're trying to do it solo. I was just going randomly and just picking whatever, to be honest, so that was a huge mistake. Already right off the bat, I'm healing stuff. I'm like flustered trying to find the right team and like oh crap. And if I would have set this up beforehand, it would have been easy mode, but I'm sitting here fooling around with it. So in this instance, it actually seems like if you have more electric types, it's actually going to be a little bit easier for you to beat this rather than using water types, which, you know, that's actually really cool. Most of the time, you know, electric types are useful in the game, but most of the time a water type is going to beat out an electric type, but not in this instance. It seems like electricity is a better way to go overall if you can, if you're you know, fighting an Aerodactyl solo. So this starts out right away, and of course I'm using the Raikou, and I mean, it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy at this point to just Wild Charge his face and just go for it, right? The one thing that you're going to notice that actually is kind of bad though is it gets to a point where he hits me with a Hyper Beam and it hurts. I mean, look at that damage right there. That was terrible. And this is why I said, you know, if you can dodge, especially, you know, you may have to. Like, I was doing a lot of damage, but if I would have just even attempted to dodge right there, I could almost beat the whole thing probably with a Raikou, to be honest. And then I noticed this right away and I adjusted. This was the biggest mistake I made of this recording, was I accidentally used a Gyarados that had 2 dark moves. It had Bite and Crunch, which is terrible for this. So This is where I adjusted. I picked the Vaporeon. I started dodging the Hyper Beam, which, you know, makes a huge difference. You can see here that I'm starting to get smart. I got the timing down pretty good for Hyper Beam, so I'm doing a decent amount of damage with my 100% C, you know, IV Vaporeon. I mean, look at that. I'm actually dodging it pretty successfully. I think at one point I do mess up here coming up, and I fail. Dodging it correctly, but you know, overall I dished out a lot of damage with you know, with my Vaporeon. And if you have a team of Vaporeons, I'm pretty confident you could beat this, especially if it doesn't have Hyper Beam. Hyper Beam is, like I said, probably the worst moveset to fight against. I mean, its other movesets are Ancient Power and Iron Head, which are so easy compared to this. I mean, this is so easy. So it switched back to that. It switched back to the dark type Gyarados. So I was like, no, gotta switch back. So Waterfall Hydro Pump is going to be better on a Gyarados than a Vaporeon. So if you have anywhere halfway decent, you know, Gyaradoses, you could probably do it. I'm fairly confident that you could probably beat this Aerodactyl with only using 2,500 plus CP Pokemon if you had a full team of halfway decent ones, right? So as you can see here, I'm about to finish the raid. I didn't even really get through that many things, and the time would have actually been even better if it weren't for the fact that I didn't really set up my team. I kind of did it on the fly, right? So it would have been actually better. And of course, I was hoping for a shiny. Spoiler alert, it's not a shiny. So I'm going to catch it here. Oh wow, it was weather boosted. I didn't even realize that. 1772. Look at that throw. 1772 weather boosted. I mean, wow. I didn't even realize I had that CP. Those throws are so bad. Go home, dude. I'm like making fun of myself. Anyway, yeah, so that was just bad. It could have been even better time. My tips for you is make your team beforehand. Favor electricity, you know, electric type Pokemon over water type if you can. Most people have good Vaporeons because they're pretty easy to get. Same thing with Gyarados. So, you know, if you are of a lower level or casual player, you can still probably do it with a team of Vaporeons. I'm fairly certain. So, man, I'm still haven't caught this guy. I'm terrible at this game, huh? Some of those throws are like horrendous. Okay, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. Do I finally catch it here or what? Okay, I caught it there. So anyway, guys, that is going to do it for the video. Hopefully this helps you. I know there's only like 1 day left for the Adventure Week, you know, event, but you know, I figured this is still good information. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for the video. If you dislike this video, you know what to do. But if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, get subscribed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.